your front row seat to darkness.
Vielleicht nur
You're watching Race to Power. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. On the show today, a look at what the world should expect from Donald Trump's first State of the Union address in his second presidency. Amid reducing approval ratings and an upcoming midterm elections, all eyes are on how the US president addresses concerns on inflation, immigration, and war threats. And the Netherlands has a new government with the youngest ever Prime Minister in Rob Jetten. What are the challenges for him? We tell you all about it in just a bit. Let's first talk about the United States of America. Donald Trump is all set to address a joint session of the US Congress in his first State of the Union address during his second term. The American president will deliver remarks on the achievements of the previous year and provide a future roadmap for the remainder of his term. The State of the Union address, remember, comes at a crucial time for Donald Trump. The country is heading for midterm elections later this year. With doubts over the Republican Party's prospects, Trump's address in front of the bipartisan audience will set the tone for the upcoming campaign season. Dozens of Democrats have already announced a boycott of Trump's address. The situation is also likely to be tense because the judges that struck down Trump's global tariffs will be taking a front row seat. During last address, remember, Trump's speech faced strong pushback from Democrat lawmakers. His previous address to a joint session of Congress had stretched for around 1 hour and 40 minutes. It broke a record for the longest presidential address in recent history. So the clocks will be out again when Trump takes the dais at Capitol Hill. Let's take a look at what Americans are thinking of the State of the Union. According to the Marist poll data, 43% of Americans think that the State of the Union is strong, while 57% think it is not so strong. A separate poll conducted by Pew Research Center shows worrying signs for Trump. Just 66% of Republican Party voters think that Donald Trump is fit to be president. This is 11% lower than what it was in January of 2025. On Trump's respect for democracy, his ratings have gone down by 8% as compared to the previous year. And on ethical values of the American president, only 42% of Republicans think that he acts ethically. That's down by 13% compared to January 2025. The economy, immigration crackdown, and the threat of war with Iran. US stands at a critical juncture. Will Donald Trump strike a conciliatory tone, or will he double down on his existing policies? That's a question that everybody will be asking. Let me go across to our correspondent Susan Teherani. She's joining us from New York at the moment and getting us what we can expect in this crucial address. Susan, good evening from New Delhi. It's of course New York seems a little relieved after that snowstorm that hit it. But there's another storm that's coming up, and that's the first State of the Union address by President Trump in his second term. There's the immigration crackdown, the ICE confrontation that happened. There is inflation because of tariffs. And there is, a going back on promise of not creating any war situation. But that, of course, is gone because you've got Iran threats coming from Donald Trump again and again. Amid all of this, what do we expect from the President of the United States of America today?
Well, the president himself said that it's going to be a long speech because he has a lot to talk about. He made that mention yesterday when he was meeting with angel families. It's also important to note that the president is going into this speech with about a 43 to 44% approval rating, which is similar to former Presidents Bush and Obama during the same time period. But nonetheless, the headlines have been on his immigration crackdown, his immigration policies, but most importantly, the economy. The White House is telling us that he's going to spend a very large portion of that speech defending his economic policies and what's ahead. The challenge for the president and possibly the Republican Party going into the midterms will be whether or not enough people are going to be listening to change their minds or have their minds already been made up when it comes to the economic policies, being Republican or Democrat. Ultimately, it's going to be up to those independent voters and whether or not the president can win the hearts and minds of those individuals. But this is as much a domestic policy speech as it is an international policy speech as well. As you mentioned, he's going to be probably talking about the Middle East, not only Iran, but the region as a whole. He's going to tout his Gaza reconstruction plan, the peace plan. And of course, we're going to be hearing a lot about what happened in the Caribbean and Latin America as well with Venezuela. Remember, the administration considers that a win and ties it to its economic policies because of oil.
You know, Susan, what's also interesting is we'll have on the front row the judges that struck down the tariffs, plus the, Democrats and certain Republicans have made boycott calls as well. What does the day look like? When can we expect in some time from now? We're expecting that address. What's the sentiment like there right now?
Yeah, so, for the most part, Democrats and Republicans agree that to respect the State of the Union, you should be putting your differences aside and not being very rowdy and coming together. That hasn't been the case. If you remember, he had a speech last March. There were representatives that had to be escorted out because they were being so loud and they wouldn't let the president finish his speech and whatnot. And then now we're seeing this boycott, which is somewhat natural. It happened to President Biden as well, maybe not to this extent where they're sort of holding an alternative to the State of the Union on the National Mall. So that'll be interesting. But nonetheless, yes, we are going to see at least some of those judges, those justices of the Supreme Court that recently voted against one of his tariff measures. And also, there's going to be a lot of unity, I think, because the USA men's hockey team is going to be in attendance as well. So that might brighten things up a little bit. But nonetheless, we're not really expecting something very cordial and unified. I think the Democrats are going to be showing their opposition not only by boycotting it, but we've heard that Ilhan Omar, for example, a congresswoman from Minnesota, is expected to bring some individuals who were affected by President Trump's immigration policies. Others are bringing Epstein victims as well. So,
all right, Susan, let's wait and watch.
A mix of the criticism against the president.
What the American president says, and just like, New Yorkers have some sort of sunshine, some bit of sunshine today. I hope there's a ray of sunshine, a ray of hope in the president's address as well. Thank you very much for joining us and getting us the latest. All right, let's also tell you how the U.S. ambassador to France has been banned from meeting with members of the French government. This move is to block Charles Kushner's access. Remember, this comes after he failed to show up to explain the comments about a slain far-right activist. Charles Kushner, remember, whose son Jared is married to American President Donald Trump's daughter Ivanka, was summoned to the French Foreign Affairs Ministry on Monday. But Kushner Sr. did not go. This was the second time that he ignored a formal summon. The French Foreign Ministry said that in light of Kushner ignoring the summons, it was requested that he no longer be allowed direct access to members of the French government. Kushner would, however, be permitted to continue his diplomatic duties and have exchanges with officials. France's Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot had summoned Kushner after the U.S. Embassy in Paris reposted comments by the Trump administration about Juan Duranque. The 23-year-old far-right activist, remember, died of head injuries following clashes between radical left and far-right supporters in the country during a protest at WION on the 12th of February. The U.S. State Department's Bureau of Counterterrorism said that it was monitoring the case. It also added that violent radical leftism was on rise and should be treated as a public safety threat. It also called for those responsible to be brought to justice. The U.S. Embassy in France later posted a French translation of those comments. Barrett denounced any attempts to exploit the killing for political ends and summoned Kushner for a meeting. But Kushner reportedly sent a senior official from the embassy in his place, citing personal commitments. He had also failed to attend a meeting at the ministry in August after writing an open letter criticizing French President Emmanuel Macron. Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer faces a crucial test in Manchester. The upcoming elections there could determine the fate of the long-time Labour Party's stronghold. The ruling Labour Party, remember, is facing a tough challenge from the Green Party and the right-wing Reform UK led by Nigel Farage. The election for the parliamentary seat in Manchester comes at a time when Starmer's own standing within the Labour Party has taken a hit. The Peter Mandelson-Jeffrey Epstein scandal is looming large, and Starmer is now facing increased pressure to release the files related to Mandelson's appointment as UK's ambassador to United States.
This is the defining moment of Keir Starmer's premiership. Watching the man who he appointed to the highest position in our diplomatic service getting arrested by police, I think, is an image that's going to stay with all of us for many, many years to come. And when people think about Keir Starmer and his premiership, they will see the arrest of Peter Mandelson as the defining moment.
Starmer is facing a double rupture in the Labour voter base. Reform UK is courting voters on its anti-immigration agenda, while younger Liberal voters say they will vote for the Green Party candidate.
I'll be voting Green this time round. I'm a former Labour member, but their stance on Palestine, privatisation, the Palantir contracts in the NHS, this whole Mandelson affair, and I don't think they can win round here anymore. I think Greens have got a better chance of beating Reform.
Remember, Labour had won Manchester's Gorton and Denton constituency in 2024 with over 50% of the vote. But the seat fell vacant after Andrew Gwang decided to step down. According to an opinion poll released by market research firm, the Green Party is currently leading the race for the seat. Reform UK is in a second position and the Labour Party is trailing at third. The Netherlands has a new government and its youngest ever Prime Minister. 38-year-old Rob Jetten has been sworn in as the new Dutch Prime Minister, ending months of political deadlock. Jetten and his minority government were sworn in at The Hague by the King of the Netherlands, Willem-Alexander Jetten. Remember, now faces the challenge of governing the politically fractured nation while having to rely on opposition support to get any laws passed. Jetten leads a three-party coalition which has 66 seats in the 150-member Dutch House of Representatives. That is below the halfway mark of 75. Jetten's own party, the Democrats, or the D66, is the single largest after the elections last October. The negotiation of a post-poll alliance and the government formation process took almost 4 months. The Netherlands has a proportional representation system during elections. It was adopted all the way back in 1918. And since then, no political party has ever come close to having an absolute majority, forcing them to work together in coalitions. The previous government, led by Prime Minister Dick Schoof, took more than 7 months to form, but it collapsed in under a year when the largest partner, the right-wing Party for Freedom, led by Geert Wilders, pulled out of the coalition. That led to snap polls and Jetten's D66 emerged on top. But the struggle to cobble together a coalition prevented him from being sworn in until now. Rob Jetten is both the youngest and the first openly gay Dutch Prime Minister. He's engaged to Nicolas Keenan, who is an Argentine field hockey player. And with that, it's time for a short break. On the other side of the break, we tell you how Rahul Gandhi has come out in support of the shirtless protest at the India AI Global Summit last week, calling the men lions. All about it in just a bit. Rahul Gandhi, the leader of the opposition in the Lok Sabha, has come out in support of the members of the Congress Party's youth wing who staged a protest at the India AI Global Summit last week. Rahul Gandhi put up a post on social media to show his support for the protesters, who he regarded as lions. He also condemned the arrest of 8 Indian Youth Congress activists in connection with the demonstration. This includes Youth Congress President Uday Bhanu Chip. He was arrested earlier on Tuesday, and a Delhi court sent him to police custody for 4 days in connection with the protest. Members of the Youth Congress had staged a protest at the India AI Global Summit last Friday. They took off their shirts to display slogans on them that criticized the new India-US trade deal and Prime Minister Narendra Modi. 7 Youth Congress members were later arrested in connection with the demonstration. Uday Bhanu Chip is the 8th person to be detained by the police. The Bharatiya Janata Party has alleged that Rahul Gandhi is the true mastermind behind these protests. A BJP spokesperson claimed that Uday Bhanu Chip will reveal the link to Rahul Gandhi while in police custody, and that the long arm of the law will reach anyone who tries to defame India. Pakistan's Army Chief Field Marshal Asim Munir has suffered a massive loss of face, with a sitting Chief Minister nailing his role in manipulating election verdicts and jailing an ex-Prime Minister. Addressing office bearers of Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf's student wing, Khyber Pakhtunkhwa's Chief Minister Sohail Afridi made it clear that PTI's main enemy is the Munir-led military. He openly blamed it for imprisoning PTI founder Imran Khan and rigging the 2024 general election in favor of PMLN and PPP. He also reiterated the demand for the unconditional release of Imran Khan, who has been jailed since August 2023.
हमारी असली लड़ाई मिलिट्री एस्टेब्लिशमेंट से है, जिससे फोकस एक ने रखना है। हमारा मुकाबला सिर्फ उससे है जिसने मेरे लीडर मेरे कहे जनाब इमरान अहमद खान नियाजी को नाहक कैद किया हुआ है। मेरी लड़ाई उससे है जिसने 8 फरवरी 2024 को मेरे मैंडेट पर डाका डाला। मेरी लड़ाई उससे है जिसने 17 सीटों से एक करप्ट, एक 2 नंबर, एक नाअहल टोला हम पर मुसल्लत किया। हमारा मुकाबला इससे है।
PTI's belligerent stance assumes significance at a juncture when its leader Imran Khan is believed to have lost 85% vision in his right eye. Despite repeated calls for access, the Pakistani government has continued to keep the former Prime Minister's family in the dark over treatment that is administered to him. His sisters have not taken this lying down. They have staged multiple sit-ins outside the Adiala jail in protests against the authorities. The police have often used force, including water cannons, to disperse the protesters. The stance taken by one of Pakistan's biggest parties has reignited concerns about the overarching influence of Asim Munir in Pakistan's politics. While his political engineering is under scanner, the country's security situation continues to suffer. For instance, Pakistan witnessed the deadliest year of internal violence in 2025. 1,070 violent incidents and 3,967 deaths were a testament to the instability that has gripped Pakistan. Brazil's President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva has revoked a waterway decree after more than a month of intense protests by indigenous people of the Amazon. The controversial decree would have opened Amazon waterways to private companies. Now, Lula's U-turn marks a major victory for indigenous movements defending the Amazon rainforest. For 33 days, thousands of indigenous protesters occupied a facility operated by an agribusiness giant, demanding that the government withdraw the decree.
Learn from the indigenous movement how to fight. This is how you fight and guarantee a victory. Make the government back down and make it revoke the decree, because we, the original peoples, are the ones who rule this country.
Indigenous leaders warn that plans to dredge the Tafos River would upset the ecological balance of the world's largest rainforest. The Amazon, remember, plays a critical role in regulating the global climate. Scientists have repeatedly warned that continued forest loss could accelerate global warming and disrupt agriculture far beyond South America. The waterway decree was part of a broader export corridor project. It includes a proposed railway aimed at speeding the flow of soy and corn from Brazil's agricultural heartland to northern parts. President Lula's administration has positioned Brazil as a global climate leader. However, his government is also backing major infrastructure projects designed to boost the country's agricultural exports. Anger against Serbia's President Alexander Vučić is intensifying. There is anger against corruption coupled with fury at the high cost of living. This is leading Serbians to take to the streets. And in the latest, the country's farmers are staging roadblocks to demonstrate against high agricultural production costs. Take a look.
We are ready for all, and we will push to the end. We will not stop at this, and we will not back down. There were also days, with good weather, we should have been in the fields by now, but there is no going back. This is the top rock bottom.
And with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Race to Power. But as always, we'll keep getting you news and updates from across the world. Thank you very much for joining us at the moment. Bye-bye.
The stress of our world can take a toll on our physical and emotional health. Here, in New York's Catskill Mountains, lies a luxurious place of healing called WION Wellness Center. The WION Wellness Center provides 500,000 square feet of natural methods to manage diabetes, hypertension, chronic pain, obesity, depression, anxiety, and other conditions. We use the traditions of centuries-old natural science from India, yoga, Ayurveda, acupuncture, and naturopathy in personalized programs that help you take charge of your own health. A minimum 5-day stay is recommended for best results. Book now at yo1.com.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
Campaigns, elections, alliances, controversies, and power play. Beyond the noise and rhetoric, no election, no ballot issue too small. Stories that analyze global and domestic politics. More than just headlines. A dedicated show with varied perspectives, expert take, citizens' voices, detailed ground reports, and in-depth coverage from political corridors of the world. This is Race to Power. Only on WION. World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch. WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
In West Asia, every move shifts the world's balance. Wars, ceasefires, alliances, power never stands still. From Tehran to Tel Aviv, from Damascus to Doha, the West Asia Post cuts through the chaos to reveal the region that shapes the world. Because what happens in West Asia never stays in West Asia. This is the West Asia Post, the region's story, the world's impact.
In-depth coverage of global issues broken down into facts, figures, and simple words. Backed with analysis from field experts who truly matter, because we believe in decoding the real picture for you. So you get a much wider and deeper understanding of stories from around the world, a 360-degree analysis. An award-winning documentary series, week after week creating the maximum impact. Watch WION Wide Angle at these times on WION. World is One.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. We are live on WION World is One. Time now for Fine Print, American Joker, the headlines. Russian Security Council Deputy Chairman Dmitry Medvedev says a nuclear strike on targets in Ukraine, France and the United Kingdom will be considered lawful and justified if London and Paris provided Kyiv with nuclear capabilities. French President Emmanuel Macron says he's very skeptical about the changes and chances of security or securing short-term peace in Ukraine in the near term. This as he addressed allied leaders during a call between leaders from countries supporting Ukraine on the 4th anniversary of the Russian war. Clashes break out between supporters and opponents of the government at the Iranian University of Science and Technology as Iranian students continue to defy authorities with protests. This as the United States weighs possible airstrikes against the Islamic Republic. Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif and Qatar's Deputy Prime Minister Sheikh Saud Al Thani discussed the situation in Afghanistan and called for dialogue to promote regional stability during high-level talks held in Doha. V.K. Sasikala, former aide of late Chief Minister J. Jayalalitha, has announced the launch of her own political party, formally re-entering the political arena in Tamil Nadu. Sasikala says her party will field candidates in the upcoming polls. Thai authorities say that the death of over 70 tigers at a tiger sanctuary in northern Chiang Mai has been caused by canine distemper virus and other bacterial complications, ruling out speculations of a possible bird flu outbreak.